So welcome everybody. Let's start with posture, mental posture as well as physical posture, motivation. And then after some quiet time together, we'll continue our investigation of Rinpoche's teaching from 1983 on how to develop loving compassion. So with the posture, I think we're all familiar, but just to reiterate, there needs to be sense of stillness. And that's not so easy because our body is used to a lot of movement, usually, a lot of movement, voluntary and involuntary. Usually there's so much restlessness, I find, builds up in the way we live nowadays, that the body is always in some kind of movement. You know, the legs are moving, hands are tapping somewhere, the face is twitching, whatever. So let's see if there can be some stillness. Then, sense of being calm and relaxed. That's not easy either, is it? Because of so many reasons, our tight schedules, our rushing around, the amount of tea and coffee we drink, all of that contributes to a kind of what the Tibetans would call lung, which is a state of wind imbalance, which makes a person very kind of jittery and restless. You know, you feel you're with a person who just can't sit still or sit down, which can be quite disconcerting. So here we need to be still, we need to be relaxed, not uptight. So not uptight, again, usually we are holding on to something, some plan, some agenda, there's an expectation, there's some kind of, we don't even have the poise a cat has when it's traditionally waiting for the mouse to come out of the hole. At least the cat is poised and has a kind of dignity. We are a little bit jumpy and anxious. The mind is flittering from here to there. The body is in a state of imbalance, usually due to lifestyle, food, trauma, etc., etc., etc. So when we say sit still and sense of ease or calm, it's easier said than done, but it does remind us, I think, that we are capable. When we stop shaking the bottle of our mind and body, then the mud, the earth in it, gradually subsides, at least temporarily, to the bottom. So this is not going to uproot our disturbing emotions, but temporarily they will not be bubbling to the surface so much. And then there's the instruction to be alert, awake, aware, attentive. That's essential because otherwise we just get somehow led by the nose from one distraction to another, meaning one thought to another, one agenda to another. Some teachers call it subconscious gossip. That's what it is. It's below the threshold of consciousness in some ways, it's just happening automatically. It's gossip. None of it is earth-shaking philosophy or deep insight, usually. It's just mental chit-chat. So can we be aware also of what is happening, rather than simply, in this case, going with the subconscious gossip flow? Put another way, okay, let there be calm, sense of calm, which will come when we connect with our body on the cushion or chair, and just be aware of that. And a clarity about that. Clarity in the sense that we're not in a fog of muddled emotion and thinking, that there's a sense of being aware of what is happening moment by moment without drowning in it. So there's a clarity. And very importantly, as we keep on emphasizing, a sense of kindness, gentleness towards oneself, which then in time can does radiate outwards, permeating the environment, which is why with some people, you naturally feel very relaxed and you're you're not so heightenedly aware of danger. You just feel naturally relaxed and safe in the environment of certain people. Sometimes it's because, of course, they could be, people who have been kind to you in the past, or your parent or whatever, friend, but it's often because that person is just in a state of relaxation and non-hurry. You feel they're paying attention to you, and you feel there's within that a sense of, therefore, concern. They're not rushing past you as just another shape and color in their life, which flits past as they speed past you. No, they're paying attention. That naturally evokes a sense of positive response. I'm not sure about this. This is something we have to research, each one of us. But I think by paying attention to people, to oneself, naturally a sense of kindness emerges out of that. This we have to check. For sure, speeding past in a distracted fashion, past anything, whether it's a person or a tree or a landscape, that for sure is not going to evoke what we're talking about. So let there be calm, clarity, kindness, a sense of stillness, ease, attentiveness, awake. So what's happening in the body? Begin to pay attention to that if we haven't already. There's breath happening. That may be entering through the nostrils mainly. You can feel it to an extent in the chest region, but beyond that, maybe we don't feel it. And even in the chest, we don't feel it unless we're breathing in somewhat deeply. Most of us have shallow breathing. How does it feel to slow down and just pay attention to the breath within the body, and a sense of just gently relaxing and letting go as we breathe out, without any kind of haste, without any impatience for the in-breath to happen. It happens naturally. As part of our motivation today, let's think about what we would like to offer to others. To feel fulfilled, of course, we need to receive attention, care, kindness from others. But what is it we would really like to offer other people, especially the people we see who obviously are in a state of woe in some way or other? They are impoverished in some way. They need more of the resources to live comfortably, or they need some comfort, some help, or they are sick, dying perhaps, or very old, not able to. For example, I have a friend who loves traveling, going places. It's becoming so much harder for that person, and they're so anxious about their traveling. And although they're anxious about it at every step, still they want to do that because they're not happy just being in one place, although they're in a very wonderful place. So many different unsatisfactory situations there. And often we feel helpless, don't we, to really help that person. We don't know what to do that's really effective. I wonder if you have felt like that. So what would we really love to offer others? What would we like to be able to do better for others? So think of people who need help, and what could one do? What can one do? What has one been able to do so far? And does that feel enough? How much is it helping them long term? Even beyond this life? Is it helping them beyond this life? Anyway, please reflect on this for a little while as part of motivation for the practice. If the mind feels cluttered or needs a rest, then come back to the breath briefly. A sense of really relaxing with the out breath, but maintaining attention, not letting it lead to sleepiness. Hmm. So that probably gives us a taste of what people experience and our own wish often to help others, but the limitation that is there. Big limitations from our side. Usually connected with lack of insight, lack of wisdom, but also lack of perseverance and perhaps sometimes courage and compassion, the real seeing their suffering so deeply that one is motivated to act in a persevering manner. And when one looks at the larger scale of what is happening, just on this planet, of course, we can't say what's happening throughout space, but just on this planet, if one has a sense of what is happening, it's deeply, deeply saddening, isn't it? What's happening for people, what is around the corner for humanity, for plant and animal life, what has already begun, of course, and the ironies of history, which also very sad, the fact that today Russia marked Victory Day over Nazism, but what are they doing? They're engaged in trying to pulverize a nearby nation. And everyone's suffering in the process. Everyone, whether it's civilians or soldiers on both sides, tremendous suffering. So anyway, what can one do about that? How can one help, when you're some neurotic, unhappy relative? Or the mother of a young child who's diagnosed with some terminal disease. How could one really help the child and the mother? Or people who are starving in South Sudan. Hmm. It is said to be wonderful initially just to be able to have the motivation to help, just to feel it somewhat and to make the aspiration. That's the beginning. That is so important. Shouldn't be underestimated, according to some. And I think that's right. We need to at least pay attention to what's happening. Only then will we later be able to do anything. By ignoring it, we won't do anything. So being aware is the first step. Seeing the pain, seeing the sorrow, feeling some sadness. What one teacher calls the genuine heart of sadness, which comes from having an open-hearted attitude, but definitely going to feel, resonate with the suffering of the world, suffering of people. Of course, some people are so sensitive they can pick up the suffering around them. They don't realize perhaps what's happening sometimes, but they, like a tuning fork, they tune into the suffering of people around them, but often can't cope with it. Anyway, here one has to say that Mahayana Buddhism, the lineage from the time of the Buddha to now, says that there are answers to these questions. There is a way to benefit all beings. Although nothing is going to necessarily happen in a hurry, the best way is to become a completely awakened person with incredible ability to know how to benefit others. Doesn't mean one always can, but one knows exactly how to begin to benefit others, how to help, how to guide those who are open to it, how to guide them beyond the suffering of cyclic existence. Which is what? Which is the continuity of the aggregates of body and mind, which is perpetuated by karma and delusion. That's the definition of samsara. It's not a place like South Sudan or Somalia. It's not a place. It's a state of mind. So this body-mind, which has been coming to being through delusion and karma. With the precious mind, the precious Buddha nature, of course, intact, untainted, but deeply hidden within these contaminated aggregates, so-called of body and mind. The jewel is always there, but it's deeply hidden right now for many of us. So good news and bad news. Good news, there's a jewel. Bad news, there's a lot of garbage covering it. Mahayana Buddhism has these skillful methods to completely clear the garbage. So with that motivation, we conduct whatever we're conducting, with the clear understanding that this jewel of the mind can be awakened, can be uncovered, developed to its highest potential in order to not only be a benefit to others, but to completely, totally inspire ourselves so that we are forever motivated by perseverance and joy, patience, and never fall victim to laziness, depression, and so forth. Never. Never again. And I can say this because I've seen people like this. I've seen Lama Zopa Rinpoche, dear late teacher. So much could be going on, so many problems. And think of it, thousands of students brought their problems to him, you know, so many problems, but he was never, ever down or depressed. He could be sad, could be very sad if some student had done something really stupid or wrong, or people hadn't behaved well, you know, whatever. He could be sad, but never down, depressed, always ready to, often ready to burst into tremendous, infectious laughter. Obviously someone who was in a state also, some kind of joy, fueled by an inner reservoir of enlightened energy. That was clear. So if another human being can do it, then we can do it as well. We can't say, oh, they're different, they're aliens, or they're something else. No, human beings like you. Okay, first step is to make the mind stable and calm, what we were talking about at the beginning. So too many words, not good. Calm, clear, kind. Let's sit quietly, paying attention to our body and mind as though it was something, which it is, very precious. Very precious. It's all we have right now. And it's our vehicle to wake up completely, which no other vehicle can provide in samsara. Only the human vehicle can really provide that. Animal, God, hell being, pret, those bodily mental vehicles cannot sustain the path that leads to enlightenment. So we have all it takes. So we begin by stabilizing through the breath awareness. But if there's something I brought up in a conversation that you really need to focus on, then by all means, reflect on that. We'll be quiet now for 7 or 8 minutes. Take a moment to stretch, stand if you need. Thank you. So nice to see some old friends here who haven't been for a while. Arjunjit from Mumbai, Nandita from Dehradun. Welcome all of you. Pooja, Nitin, Naveen is there, Tia. Welcome everyone. Okay, before I come to the actual text, I'd like to give some insight, whatever insight we limited people can have, or I can have, into beings like late Lama Zopa Rinpoche, by looking at what he called Bodhicitta mindfulness. Bodhicitta mindfulness. So this would be advice, you see, given for people who are trying to train in compassion and bodhicitta. In these particular excerpts I'm going to treat you to, they are from a particular retreat that was going on, a particular Vajrayana retreat. But whether Vajrayana or whatever, it's very, very important to not forget the great compassion motivation of bodhicitta. So this is bodhicitta mindfulness, and it's something that it's very clear. This is something Rinpoche practiced his whole life. For us, it might seem a little, what shall I say, a little contrived or forced, because it's not something we're used to. But having practiced it just a very little bit myself, it is interesting. It is a useful practice. So it's like this. What it is about is utilizing everything we do during the day to remind us of compassion and bodhicitta, or something that is connected with that and which can help lay the foundation for that sublime mind. So, for example, let me read from this short list of activities that can be transformed into a practice of bodhicitta. So the very first thing in the morning, when you wake up, you can think, may all sentient beings achieve, the holy body of the Buddha. May all beings become like Buddhas. When you get up, you actually get out of bed, or get up. May all beings rise up from the great ocean of samsaric suffering. And when actually, it can make sense, of course, only if we have previously reflected a bit on what Buddha means by oceans of samsaric suffering, right? if it's just a phrase you're hearing for the first time, it may conjure up the ocean, and fish. But oceans of samsaric suffering is about all the different kinds of levels of suffering we can have, from deep feeling of torture and pain in the body to that subtle sense of restlessness, something being unsatisfactory, the discomfort that comes actually from even thinking I or me. Because as soon as we start thinking of I or me, there is that sense of self-preservation, a sense of needing to somehow look after or protect this I or me. So even that is considered a suffering, albeit a subtle one, but that is also suffering. So, getting up thinking, I'm going to not only be somebody who, like a doctor, could help somebody with a painful disease, but I'm going to be someone who is helping people be free of even the most subtle levels of pain and suffering. I'm going to help people go beyond conceptual mind, beyond the tsunami of disturbing thoughts, beyond duality. I'm going to help people totally rise up out of this massive samsaric suffering caused by delusion and karma. Yeah. When you get dressed, then you can think, may all sentient beings wear the dress of shyness and shame. Shyness and shame here refers to two things. One is, and I can't remember the technical Tibetan word or the Sanskrit equivalent, but there are two things. One is to feel regret and ashamed when you do something that you know is not right, is wrong. And that, of course, will also depend on the vows you have taken, if you are breaking your vows or something like that. Another level of it is when you think, what would people I know or who respect me or whatever, what would they think of me if they knew I had done this? So when we're wearing our clothes, we think, may we wear the dress of shy and shame, means the dress, the armor, if you like, that protects us from having to feel ashamed about anything, having to feel ashamed about the way we are acting. We needn't feel shame if we are acting very ethically, very purely, very wisely. When you tie your belt, you can think, may all sentient beings' minds be bound by the three higher trainings. So the three higher trainings of ethics, concentration, and wisdom. You can have that thought while you're tying your belt. As I said, in the beginning, it can feel very strange. It feels very contrived, very artificial, yeah. But what else? We're always thinking something, aren't we? So what are we normally thinking when we're tying our belt or wearing our clothes? What are we thinking? If we were actually to be aware enough to know, to be able to write down later or to remember what we were thinking, it may not be that useful, It may not be nearly as useful as thinking, may I wear the dress of shyness and shame? In a spiritual context, especially. When you let go, when you release, when you open your belt, you can think, may all sentient beings be released from the bondage of karma and delusion. And of course, having some understanding of what delusion is and what karma is, and how karma binds us and has its effect over an incredible number of lifetimes. Every time we sit down, think, I'm bringing all sentient beings to the heart of enlightenment. May this happen. Or when you're sitting down after being tired, you could also think, and this is just something I'm saying, not Rinpoche, but you could think, may all beings find rest. May all beings who need to, may they find rest and repose. May they find relaxation, comfort. May they not have to rush around all the time just to survive or to, feel happy. May they find rest. When we offer incense, we can think, by eliminating the bad smell of all sentient beings' stains of wicked nature, may they have the scented smell of morality. May they live in pure morality. And in fact, incense, offering incense is apparently a karmic cause for having pure morality in the future. Offering flowers, for example, cause of achieving beauty, so forth. Offering wealth, you could say, in general, creates the cause to oneself have enough resources and wealth. Yeah, it says here, offering incense, special cause to be able to keep pure morality. So it's good to offer a lot of incense and dedicate in this way. When you clean, you think, may all sentient beings not have bad conduct. May they have beautiful, perfect conduct. So it's like we're cleaning the mind. So when we're cleaning the bartan in the kitchen or the floor or whatever we're cleaning, we're creating the cause for that, to have beautiful conduct. And I suppose also karmically it would create the cause to have in future very clean, beautiful environments. That sort of makes some kind of karmic sense. And a lot of Buddhist practice is involved in creating imaginatively great beauty and offering beautiful universes, and that is said to create the cause to experience later very beautiful environment, pure environment. So, and here's some extra advice Rinpoche is giving. Clean the place where you have holy objects regularly, whether it's dirty or not, thinking that you're cleaning away all sentient beings' disturbing thoughts, obscurations, and even their subtle defilements. So think that the brush or the vacuum cleaner or the broom or whatever you're using is the antidote to those obscurations. Yeah, it's the complete path of method and wisdom, the whole path to enlightenment, from proper devotion to the spiritual teacher up to enlightenment. Every time when you wash anything, your face, clothing, pots, brushing your teeth, laundry, whatever, think, I'm washing away all the stains of the delusions of all sentient beings. Gives one a great sense of satisfaction. Like today, I was cleaning the kitchen before the painter came so that it just looked nicer. Anyway, it was so satisfying to take stuff out of the way and put it together in one place in some kind of order and clean the surface. So to be able to join that then with also the thought, may it lead to, pure morality, may, clean all the stains. It kind of, there's an added meaning to doing that. It's not just about cleaning your home, which of course is good, very good. But it kind of creates another aspirational thought, which is deeply profound and could have a long-term impact if one thought regularly like this. Then one will become someone who takes great joy in helping others clean up their mental garbage. Think that the toothbrush, toothpaste, water, soap, whatever, is the complete graduated path to enlightenment, and that you're cleaning away all the obscurations from sentient beings' minds. This way, you create limitless skies of merit with each stroke of the brush as you clean your teeth. Exclamation mark. So that's good news for us. Because we all, however messy we are, and some of us are a bit messy, all of us clean something every day, right? We clean our teeth and other parts of our body, and we do other cleaning as well. When you blow your nose, you can think, I'm clearing away all the sentient beings' negative karma and delusions. When you enter a temple or even your own house or meditation room, you can think, may all sentient beings be led into the city of the sorrowless state, which is great liberation or enlightenment. May they enter the city of liberation. Pray like this. Think you're actually doing it and dedicate for it to happen. So then you see, it's like planting a strong imprint in the mind. Every time we have Negative thought, angry thought, that's also planting strong imprint in the minds. This is planting a different kind of imprint, strong imprint. And if we repeat it, then it's becoming stronger and stronger. You can say, well, that's just a habitual action. Well, of course, things have to be habitual initially. Otherwise, how will they become a positive habit? You know? So we shouldn't think, oh, this is all very, kind of, I don't know. It's like, what should I say? Amateur or, contrived is a word that I was thinking, yeah. But we have to do like this initially. Otherwise, we have all our garbage or useless thoughts coming up all the time. That's no use. So we may be doing something useful with our hands, like cleaning, but our mind is thinking something, ridiculous or not that useful. Or it is thinking what Rinpoche might say, as he said very often, just thinking about the happiness of this life. I mean, let's be honest, when we clean our toilets, our rooms, or anything, are we thinking beyond the happiness of this life as we do it? No, we just want to have a clean space, which is great, but it's not long-term, is it? So by having these kind of thoughts, it's creating a long-term positive aspiration, which can definitely ripen in the future as something very, very positive. When you go out of the house, think I'm liberating all sentient beings from the prison of samsara, which is bound by delusion and karma. May this happen. When you open the door, think I'm opening the door of the transcendental wisdom gone beyond samsara for all sentient beings. When you close it, I'm closing the door of samsara for all sentient beings. May this happen. When you make a fire, I'm burning all sentient beings' delusions in the fire of transcendental wisdom. When you're cooking food in a pot, then you can think you are cooking and transforming all of the delusions into something delicious and beneficial by transforming them, transforming poison into medicine. When you eat, you must use the opportunity. This is, of course, in the context of people who are doing special kind of retreats also, but it's useful for us too, in general. When we eat, Rinpoche says, you must use the opportunity to make offerings to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. You imagine you're offering to them. In the heart, you have the Buddha, you feel you're offering to the Dharma and the Sangha. Also, you are making charity to all sentient beings, and particularly the 21,000 beings who are living in your body. So this is connected with the Tibetan understanding that there are all these, chote-chote kide makode to sarir mein hain. In the guts, there are all these beings, and they are sentient. Many of them are sentient. They are not without mind. So there is that understanding that there are so many beings inside us. So you're making offerings to them, so that you can, make a Dharma connection with them. Right now, they're little bugs in your body. In the future, they could be your students, who knows? Over a period of time, you could be connected with them in a completely different way. And in the future, you can bring them to enlightenment. If one were engaging in a Vajrayana practice, you would imagine you are offering food in a particular way to yourself as the Guru, as the Buddha, and so forth. When you are cutting anything like vegetables, chopping wood, think you are make all sentient beings root of samsara, which is the holding on to I as truly existent, be cut by the wisdom realizing emptiness. Every time you cut a piece of bread to make toast, you are cutting the root of samsara, which is this self-grasping ignorance, holding on to oneself as totally real from one's own side, without depending on cause, conditions, paths, or labeling thought. Independent somehow, cutting that ignorance. Or I'm cutting all sentient beings' selfishness, their self-cherishing attitude, with the knife of Bodhicitta. So here, Bodhicitta would be like a knife, like compassion. And of course, a knife, even in the hands of a good surgeon, the knife you can say is an instrument of compassion, because the surgeon is cutting out or doing something to heal your body. So a knife, which can be an instrument of fear and murder, here is an instrument of healing. Yeah, so it depends on the thought, doesn't it? Then, I think we finished this particular. Yes. So you see, there's ways to transform everything. When you, what could be, okay, let's get some audience participation. What could we think when we are turning on our laptop? Okay, hold on, make it. Now I'm imagining that I'm liberating you all on screen from the sadness of not being able to speak, from being tongue-tied. Okay, all of you can now speak, I think. Okay, Nandita ji in Dehradun, I'll pick on you.
Good
Hello.
evening, Kabir ji.
Good evening. So what might one think while one is turning on one's laptop? What wonderful thought could you have? Any idea?
May all sentient beings be able to communicate with each other to spread dharma.
Wonderful. Yeah, very good. I think definitely 9.5 out of 10 for that. Anybody else? Anybody able to? What could we, when we turn on the laptop? Sagar?
I would get 2 or 3. If
Huh?
that was 9.5, I would get 2 or 3.
No, I don't care what will you say now? Don't put yourself down. Okay, Bob, what would you say when you turn on your smartphone? How would you transform it into a Bodhicitta action? Thought. What?
Be positive.
Be positive.
Answer positive.
Like when you turn on your smartphone, what might one think?
What do I think?
No, what might one think in this context of generating compassion and bodhicitta? Mindfulness, bodhicitta mindfulness. Think about it. Anybody else? Sagar, what would you think when you're beginning to write a script for your next film? What might you think in this context?
To let people know that there's hope.
Huh?
To let people know that there's still hope.
Still hope. Is that a bodhicitta motivation? Is that a very dharmic motivation?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good. What else could one think? Because you see, if you make a film, it could have such an impact on people. You know, it could have a big impact. So then you have a big responsibility almost. Anilji, any thoughts on any action which could be transformed?
Start my laptop. One of the motivations can be, may I do my action on the laptop, relieve people of their problems and help them in a way that.
Okay, so good. Yeah, Anilji is saying by turning on the laptop may enable him to engage in actions that make people happy, make them feel good. Yeah. How about when we are combing our hair? It doesn't apply to me, but applies to most of you. What could you think while you're combing your hair? Huh?
I wouldn't want my white hair to show.
Is that a bodhicitta motivation? Is that connected with great compassion? Vivekji, while you're combing your hair, what might you think?
I think of the man who made that comb, whom I bought it, even with living out of it.
Okay, so may I have longer hair so that I need more and more combs to benefit lots of comb makers? Okay. Nilashi, any ideas? Nilashi Ji? Any action? Simple daily action that one was bound to engage in every day. Sorry? That sounded like Navita saying something.
Yes.
Oh, just a sec. Yeah.
Smartphone thing now is that someone can share their sorrows with me.
Ah, you can share your sorrows. Okay. Yes.
There's
Yeah, their sorrows.
Yes. You can share their sorrows. Okay. Good. Good. Anybody on screen?
Kabirji, for combing the hair, one could say, imagine untangling the confusion of beings in samsara.
Kya baat hai, kya baat hai. Yes,
But
untangling
very not-
confusion, especially some people's
not
hair,
it.
right? Yes, like
Yeah,
tears.
my thankful Lord of the knots of samsara.
Right, untying the knots of samsara. Very good, very
And
good.
also the tangled web of karma, disentangling people from the web of karma. Yeah.
Yes, God, what a tangle. Yes, yes, yes. The tangled web of karma, which Rinpoche often reminds us we're creating so much negative karma every hour, every minute, he says. Even good thoughts we're having, we're still creating karma to be in samsara if those thoughts aren't connected with emptiness. We're only creating cause for having a better situation within samsara, within the jail. They're not yet liberating thoughts.
After carrying a bag or a body,
Okay.
carry, how we keep reminding us to remember our good deeds,
Ah,
but we carry our
oh.
good deeds with us.
Oh. And as a result of remembering them, what
And
might
create more problems.
Okay, so carrying a bag, Nilashiji says, it can remind us that we are carrying a whole bunch of positive actions. We've done a lot of positive actions. And yeah, we can do more of such actions. And I guess one could rejoice as well that one has a baggage, not just of negative karma, but many positive actions due to which we have been born human in this extraordinary circumstance of being well fed enough and having the dharma and everything. Any other ideas?
The light from the screen,
Ah,
from the smartphone or the
yes,
laptop,
yes.
be some sort of symbolic reminder that the light is enlightening us.
Oh.
Compassion.
Wow, good. Yes, yes. When you turn on the laptop or smartphone, our friend here is saying, reminds us of the light of what did you say, of compassion?
Yeah.
Which
we can extend.
Which we can extend towards others, enlightening us and helps us enlighten others, enlightening others. Lamp, that sense of light. And of course, light, offering light. Anybody know what offering light is a cause for? Offering incense was a cause for pure morality. What is the result of offering light?
Dispelling darkness.
Which is wisdom, right? Yeah. Dispelling darkness. Oh, that's easy. May my spectacles cause me to have great insight into ultimate truth. See sentient beings' problems very clearly. And of course, if I ever buy a hearing aid, which I hope to, I'll say, by buying this hearing aid, may I be able to hear all the suffering of all the universe and do something about it. But I can't hear it yet. When I hear it, when I buy my hearing aid, I'll hear it.
Then to feel these, do we actually need glasses and hearing?
For
What you just said.
I'm just saying how, if I did have it, that's how you could transform it. Yeah, I mean, without glasses, I can still see, but it's like she's asking, what is the way to transform the act of wearing glasses? I could say the act of taking my glasses off is, I could say, may I be less enchanted by physical form and be more enchanted by the inner beauty of my own mind, of my own pure mind. How about that? Wow, that's a good one. May I be less drawn into the what Buddha called the something in the Dhammapada. There's this phrase. It says, "Fools get caught up in samsara, which is like a painted chariot. You know, fools drown in that, but the wise are not enchanted by the chariot." Something like that, by a painted chariot. You know, like a child is enchanted by a painted wooden toy. You don't get those anymore. But, well, not much. But wise older people aren't so caught up in that. You know. Yeah. Anyone else have some brilliant Bodhicitta? Did you come up with any on retreat, Tia? Any Bodhicitta mindfulness practice? Apart from your little monsters or that you have so many of, who you offer tea to, did you have any, employ any Bodhicitta mindfulness? Or does Jetsunma teach some Bodhicitta mindfulness? You are muted.
You're muted.
No, Kabirji, retreat was mostly about survival because the emotions are really strong. But I used to keep some chart paper, drawing sheets with me, with crayons. And I used to write down antidotes, you know, for instance, loud noise, there was construction happening or some other disturbance, then I would have my antidotes ready. So the next time this happens and anger starts to arise, then think like this. And
what would your antidote be for loud noises of construction?
Develop compassion for the people who are doing the work, because they are building, they are engaged in such hard work, such hard labor, and making all these structures that they never get to live in. You know, they never get to use, and they're doing it for others. And then noise, who is creating the noise? You know, like, is there a person? And trying to break it down. So this is it. And then just looking at the noise, just listening to the noise, whatever distracts, make that an object of meditation.
Right.
Yeah, because the reactions used to be instant, automatic.
Right.
Noise comes and aversion arises.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instant dislike.
Instant dislike. But I have an idea for switching on the laptop. So as this laptop wakes up from sleep, it was sleeping, right? So may all sentient beings wake up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. May all sentient beings wake up. Oh, the laptop wakes you up from sleep? In what way?
It wakes up. It wakes up.
It wakes
just
up.
As the laptop wakes up.
Just at the press of a button, yes.
Yeah.
So when I'm a Buddha, may I be able to wake people up with a press of a whatever, with a light ray from my brow, like in the Mahayana Sutras. All these light rays going out.
Or I could say something else, I could think like this: when I push this button, to may no one push my buttons. I'm joking. I'm joking.
That's becoming a little, yes. Yeah, why not? Yeah, one's got to start somewhere, right? Very good. So I think we're all getting the idea, so we can all utilize, when we use an overbridge, we can say I'm going up on the various steps to enlightenment on the graded path. Then when I'm on the top of the bridge, I can see all the traffic going past. I can look down on all sentient beings with great compassion, like Avalokiteshvara. When I go down the steps at the other side, what could one think then? I'm going to not stay in some pure land or nirvana. I'm going to go down into the world to help others, something like that. One could utilize, one could have all sorts of ideas, which might be helpful, might remind us. Good. So you're getting an idea. One of the reasons I wanted to quote these things, not just because it's so useful for us, but to remind us that this teaching from Rinpoche that we've been looking at, Rinpoche practiced this. This is what he practiced his whole life. And I think, of course, he'd gone far beyond this kind of stage where he had to conceptualize like this, but this is how he would have trained to attain, the bodhicitta that I feel absolutely sure he he embodied his whole life, yeah. Anyway, this is what Rinpoche taught. So I think if somebody like Rinpoche teaches this, it's useful for us to investigate and utilize. It's a lot on emptiness in this teaching. It's not about, as people say, bodhicitta, not just about kindness. Kindness, of course, anyone can be kind towards people who are kind to them. If someone's kind to you, you feel kindly towards them. But real bodhicitta, real compassion has to be combined with understanding reality. Understanding the reality of our delusions, how we are deluded, how we label in the wrong way. And by labeling, in the wrong way, based on self-grasping ignorance, how we make a mess, how we completely lose our ability to have equanimity, and how we favor a lot certain people, how we push aside other people. All of this depends on having some insight into reality, not just about being a goody person who helps others and, helps old gentlemen across the road, Although that is also something wonderful to do. That could be done with bodhicitta mindfulness, obviously. If you help an old person or somebody who needs help to cross the road, that's an amazing. You say, I'm helping this being cross the ocean of samsara, cross the river of wrong views, cross the river of pollution, whatever. I'm helping someone gain the shore of liberation. The fast traffic is like the disturbing emotions, helping them go across that. Any questions so far? Comments? Sorry?
We had gone to Dharamshala in 2015.
Lama
Zopa Rinpoche was there. So as you mentioned, he was still happy. He had just had his stroke. And his foot had become twisted.
Yes.
And the doctor came. His physician in the
Acha.
she was there.
Dr. Anita? No.
And he was still full of laughter and joy. Even while he was teaching,
Right.
he was laughing.
A lot of laughter, yeah.
There was a couple from abroad. Man, who was young. They could be in their 30s. And the he broke down. When she saw that his foot is twisted, I think it was his right. She broke down. She started, and she went away separately.
Acha. But Rinpoche was laughing, right?
And even then, while teaching also, was still laughing and joyful.
Yeah, he had a great sense of humor also, actually. Great sense of humor.
Very moving.
For one student, he made he didn't make, but he laughed in a most extraordinary way for 3 or 4 minutes, which she then taped, which was very useful for that student who had been feeling very down, very depressed. So when Rinpoche had his laughing session, it really helped her. Yeah, this nun. And it's an extraordinary sound, actually. So yeah, many ways to help others. And yeah, Rinpoche had plenty to be worried about, but he was never, I think, worried about things in the way we're worried. He could always have, of course, do something about it. And there was so much joy due to having no negative karma ripening, or if negative karma ripened, it was often, I think, what she also took on, other people's problems and other people's distress, which great bodhisattvas can do. And when he had the stroke, it was like he casually in the teaching mentioned that he felt like he was having something happening in his body. And that was the stroke happening. And then he couldn't use his hand properly, leg, and his voice became strange for a while, but there's never any sign of any kind of distress. There's no distress from his side. The distress was all with students. There was no problem for him whatsoever. And in fact, later his voice became much more powerful and much more intelligible, actually, than before his stroke. For many years, his speech had been very difficult for some people to follow, because he would literally cough, or, every few seconds. And it was very distressing for people who weren't used to it. Anyway, not distressing, but it was.
That was when he come here, he had that cough.
Henna, every few seconds.
Every few sentences.
Mm,
And he answered this question and cured my tennis shoulder.
He cured your tennis shoulder. How did he do that?
When he was answering, he answered for about 70 minutes.
You had asked a question?
Whitney had asked.
Okay.
I was sitting there.
Ah.
This whole room was full of people. Most of them foreigners, few Tibetans, and few Indians also. And while he was answering, my shoulder kept twitching automatically.
Acha.
So it must have taken about, say, 20 and maybe 25.
Mm.
And after he had finished, the pain had went.
Which you had had for some time, that pain?
Maybe 1 or 2 weeks.
Mm. Yeah.
Maybe that he started. But the pain after that, I was totally pain had, after he had finished on. And then I went home.
Yeah, I remember, this reminds me of something someone asked His Holiness Dalai Lama in America. This person apparently had come to a teaching in a wheelchair. They'd been in a wheelchair for many years. And then they said that after your teaching, I was able to leave the teaching walking, for the first time in I don't know how long. If this isn't a miracle, what is? He asked His Holiness, and His Holiness just smiled. But yeah, things can happen, I guess, in the presence of very highly compassionate and special people. Yeah, that's for sure.
Kabir, when you mentioned the word delusion, what exactly does it?
Very good question. The simplest definition, apparently, of delusion is something that disturbs the peace of the mind. Okay, so the greatest thing that disturbs the peace of the mind, according to Buddhists, is the grasping onto a sense of I, me, mine, very tightly. That is self-grasping ignorance. Ignorance is the root. From that, you get attachment and aversion and all the other branches of delusions, of disturbing mental factors. So they disturb the peace of the mind. So attachment disturbs the peace of the mind, anger disturbs the peace of the mind, jealousy, pride, arrogance, miserliness, whatever, they all disturb the peace of the mind. Whereas more positive emotions make the mind more tranquil and calm.
I had another question. So when we talk about attachment, I think it's much easier to probably not have materialistic attachment. Probably I think that is also very tough. But when we talk about emotional attachment, how bad is it? Is it something that is also something, the reason for delusion, disturbance, etc. So when you use the word attachment, are we specifically talking about attachment to only desire? And
it can be attachment to a person, to a thing, to a position, to a place, to a status. And the definition of attachment is a mistaken consciousness that exaggerates the likable aspects, attractive aspects of a person, a thing, a place, whatever, a position you're being offered, maybe, or a memory. Okay, so it exaggerates the attractive aspect of it and wants to get it. Or in the terms of a memory, maybe wants to repeat it, wants to keep on thinking about it, or would like to have a similar experience in the future, you know. So the key thing is it's a mistaken mind that exaggerates. It exaggerates a quality in the object that the object does not really possess inherently. Because if it did, then everybody would feel the same way towards that object, which is patently not the case. Anger is, again, similar definition, except different. It's in that you don't exaggerate the attractive quality of something, you exaggerate the unlikable, ugly, nasty aspect of something, someone, or whatever. And then you want to push it away or even harm it. If it's some, you know, your motorcycle's not working and you get so frustrated, you kick it or you bash it with a hammer, or, you know, whatever, or you have just some sense of aversion. So that is anger. And both, as we see, as one can see from that, from the definition, they disturb the peace of the mind, don't they?
So both of these things are some sort of confirmation biases. For example,
Confirmation, what?
Confirmation biases. So basically, let's say if I like him, I'll probably only look at the good traits, probably amplify the good traits that are there and probably downgrade the negative traits.
Well, yeah, you can see negative traits, but they're not so important for you. They're very important for you in someone you don't like. That's what you exaggerate. And of course, someone else sees totally different traits in that person, which proves that they're not inherently this way or that way. It proves that green is not inherently better than red or vice versa. It depends on the person. A bull finds red very, you know, they get angry at red. I guess they feel better at green. And there may be people who much prefer red to green. And in fact, tantric practice is so skillful because it has different colors for different Buddhas. And even the same Buddha, like Tara, some Taras are black, some are green, some are red, some are white, some are blue. A Tara is a female manifestation of Buddha energy, right? Some are yellow. So what do we make of that? You see, we need different inputs for different purposes. But some, of course, may have a preference for a particular Tara or a particular, even Avalokiteshvara, Buddha of compassion. I know at least there's a red form and then a black form in the wrathful aspect. So at least, you know, 3 colors for the Buddha of compassion. Many colors for Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. Here we have the main yellow aspect is the most common, but there's black, there's blue Manjushri, black Manjushri for sure, and maybe other colors too.
Okay, one
Okay.
at the sense of, so at the root of all this, what I could gauge from yesterday and today.
Acha.
No, I'm asking, is it, so to actually go down to that, actually loving someone or being compassionate, the first step should be to actually forget that sense of I or that sense of attachment to oneself.
That would be amazing. If you could do that, that would be amazing. Very high level, very high level. Because that means you could do whatever for that person and not want anything in return for yourself.
No reciprocation.
Yeah, that's very difficult.
Can you be sure that, for example, in the case of Lama or that you are not holding a mistaken mind when you see them as an embodiment of compassion? How do you know that you are exaggerating that one quality that is most striking about someone?
So how do we know? The question is that we're not exaggerating the qualities of, say, Avalokiteshvara. Well, we have to see in one sense how it might be useful to exaggerate a certain quality if it's positive. Like if someone is generous, we might say, oh, it's good for you to exaggerate your generosity rather than, you know, make it less. Unless, of course, that generosity was proving very unskillful and you were, you know, giving all your money away to beggars and not enough money left for your family or something. But yeah, it's you have to check what is the result of your practice based on your perception of Avalokiteshvara or your Guru or Buddha. Is my practice causing me to become somehow more deluded, or is it causing more disturbance in my mind? Is it helping? One would have to look at it that way. But that's quite a good question. What would other people answer? Did you get the questions, Sujitji? That how do we know we're not exaggerating the positive quality of Avalokiteshvara or Manjushri? We may be exaggerating their wisdom. We may be exaggerating how much Avalokiteshvara cares for all of us. Maybe Avalokiteshvara is biased, but we're exaggerating what we think is their sense of unbiased love.
I got the question. I think it is a very tricky question, because generally we tend to understand anything within our limited scope of definitions and our own understanding of things, of words.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes very difficult to actually say whether we are exaggerating or whether we are aspiring.
Aspiring.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would generally think of it as aspiring rather than exaggerating.
Mm. I mean, there's that story of the lady who was brought back the tooth of a dog by her son, saying that it's a relic of Lord Buddha. And due to her having faith that it was a relic of the Buddha, she achieved very high states of realization due to her perception of that dog's tooth as something else. So she exaggerated for sure what that dog's tooth was, but maybe that says something about how mind is the creator and not any external object. So if we do so-called, and of course exaggerate here is a loaded term. If I want to generate more compassion, then of course I'm going to think of someone who has more compassion than me, or I think has more compassion than me. And if I think a certain person has more compassion than me, then I can learn from that person potentially, or from that image, due to the power of my faith and my perception. It's not blind faith, but it's something to do with how the mind labels. Again, it's about emptiness, this whole thing, isn't it? It comes down to how we label. If you label the Dalai Lama as what the Chinese often called him, what do they call him? Sheep in wolf's clothing, capitalist, Rhoda. If you label Dalai Lama like that, and you have enough propaganda like that, then you will think the Dalai Lama is that way. If I think Dalai Lama Ji is an embodiment of great compassion, then I'll relate to him that way and have benefit if I ever meet him or hear a teaching. But the question is, how do I know whether I'm exaggerating what the Dalai Lama is or what a Buddha is? So you see, again, I think it comes down to our own wisdom. What do we really want? What do we want to generate in our mind? You know, do we want to generate more or less compassion? If we want to generate less compassion or more anger, then we should see the Dalai Lama as someone who misbehaves and so on and so forth. You see, does that make sense? What do you think? How would you answer your own question? I wonder.
Something that Kyabje Dan said at that house in his Nalandama. It was coming to mind, but I don't have the right words. But it's something about how you define, how you can recognize that your mind is mistaken. There are certain features or qualities of a mistaken mind.
Right, that's
and that
good.
is what's coming to my mind right now, which
Yes.
could provide a clue as to
Yes.
recognize whether your mind is accurate or not in judging the appearance.
So what are some of the factors that could let us know that we're having a mistaken mind, mistaken perception? I wonder.
Sense of duality.
Well, that is there. Yeah, that is overall our main problem. One of our main problems. Yeah. And the sense of the gentleman said, if you could have that unbiased love, not having the sense of I, fantastic. But there is that duality. Sorry, somebody online?
Kabirji,
Pradeep,
what was her answer? I had a thought, but I didn't listen to the answer which she gave on this.
that Geshe Dorje Damdullah had in his Tibet house teachings had suggested that there are ways, there are some guidelines which can help us see whether a mind is mistaken or not. So whether in fact your perception of a Buddha having a great deal of love and compassion, is that a mistaken mind or not? It's not obviously obvious. So you there are certain, what did you say?
There are many kinds of minds.
There are many kinds of minds.
Classification of minds,
Mm.
and a mistaken mind is just one of them.
A mistaken mind is only just one of many, many categories of mind.
Yeah.
And
So there are certain features of the mistaken
there are
mind.
certain features. Yeah, there are certain features of a mistaken mind.
Recognizing whether your perception of an object has those features could help you see whether you are exaggerating or not.
So can you remember any of those features?
Having in my notes.
Okay, maybe next time, because that's useful. Yeah. So there are certain features. I mean, one thing might be that, does that view of that Buddha or person help my mind or not develop Dharma qualities?
Kabirji, one way to maybe
Boliye?
look at it is that you exaggerate the good qualities of a person means that you're ignoring the bad qualities of that person. In a way, it's
Okay.
so.
And who's to say whether Dalai Lama has good qualities or bad qualities? How do we judge that? According to the recent video that came out, some people went haywire,
About the child thing.
vilifying the Dalai Lama, and then others had to, take another view. So it all depends on our perception, doesn't it?
It does. And also we have to see whether Buddha has, are there bad qualities which I am ignoring and which is affecting other people negatively, but because I am exaggerating all the good qualities, I'm ignoring it. So one has to then study the other side also to maybe arrive at your own conclusion that whether I'm ignoring bad qualities or not, or whether there are bad qualities.
Yeah, and if one reads the literature, which I've read just a little of, I haven't gone into it in depth like the people who've done the master's program, but there are many, many classifications of the positive qualities of a Buddha. And there are no faults in a Buddha's consciousness, according to all of the teachings, whether they're, Maitreya's teachings in the Uttara Tantra or, whatever, Avisamaya Lankara. There are no faults in a Buddha's mind, in a Buddha's mind stream. A Buddha has eliminated all negative qualities, and not only that, has imbibed all positive qualities, as per the definition. So as per definition of a Buddha, there are no negative qualities. So the only thing one can do is actually underestimate his great qualities, because many of them are beyond belief. They could only happen for someone who is totally non-dualistic, without conception. After all, Sarva Jnani, he's supposed to be all-knowing. Of course, then you might say, well, he's all-knowing and he's very bad. He's using his all-knowingness to trick people and harm people. But anyway, in the definitions of what a Buddha is, there are no negative qualities. So then it's hard to exaggerate the positive qualities of a Buddha, as per what we mean by a Buddha. Now, can you exaggerate the goodness of an ordinary human being? Yes, for sure. Why? Based on what we see of how ordinary human beings behave. Ordinary meaning without great realizations of wisdom, compassion, and so forth. Ordinary sentient beings are, as we know, very fickle, hard to trust, deceiving, not able to engage in unconditional kindness or love, all of these things. So, like that. No such thing as a free lunch kind of idea. So next time someone offers you a free lunch, oh God, I'm going to have to give them a free lunch in a future life. Or sooner. It's really bad news. Conditionality, duality is very bad news. The delusions, it seems, are very bad news.
Help people like who are just full of themselves, jealous now.
I wish. Well, oh man. Depends who they are, If they're your child, it might be easier in some way. If there's someone who's elder than you and you're supposed to respect them, then it's quite difficult. If they're your boss, then you have to be careful, right? You put secret messages in their in tray or whatever, so they don't know where it's coming from. Don't send them an email that you are a puffed up, good for nothing. I wish I could prick the balloon of your pride with my needle. You would have to be courageous and wise, it seems to me. You might lose your job if it's your boss, if you really let them know how you feel. That's there in the movies, of course. You have scenes where the person, I remember, I think certain films like, I don't know, just images come to mind of this black actor, Sidney Poitier, making very moving, telling people what for. But that's not easy, right? So anyone have any ideas how to bring down somebody who is arrogant and full of themselves and obviously harming other people in this way?
Being kind to them.
Huh?
Being kind to them. Doing the opposite no matter what happens.
I was going to say,
That
Have you tried that? Being kind to them?
Yeah,
it's not.
Huh?
I have.
You have, and it works?
It works.
You give them flowers when they're abusing you.
It's very difficult though. Very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But if you are able to do it.
Turn the other cheek.
And I think for doing that, you have to detach yourself also from that meaning what you said.
From that?
From that delusion. Attaching yourself.
Oh, I.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Forget about the
The
image.
sense of I should be very low, I think. Can actually so
Who is it? Somebody, was it Pradeepji? Who was it? Or Naveen? Who was it a few years ago during the COVID thing said that they offered flowers to someone who was creating a big disturbance in their building and it helped? Can anyone remember?
Yeah, it was
Who was it?
not flowers, but I offered them a chocolate because of your
Chocolate.
advice.
And it helped?
I mean, it was not as if they were disturbing me. I was more worried. We were worried that they could cause destruction to each other because the fight used to be.
Similar kind of thing, but it helped. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
it
a bit
helped. It helped.
Kabirji, I can share one example that
Yeah.
Rebecca did.
Oh,
So without her permission, but
you're her
she-
good friend, so it's
She
okay.
had a very bad boss. She just joined a job.
Okay.
In a very good organization.
Hmm.
And basically what we call a toxic boss.
Oh,
And Rebecca's quite a strong person, like she can tolerate all sorts of people. And it was, I've never seen her like in this condition. And so we kept telling her, like even my mom was telling her, you need this, and protect yourself
Hmm.
and your mental energy and health. And really terrible for 6 months. And then she resigned from the job. And as a parting gift, she gave her boss that tea set, that pretty tea set that comes with cups and a kettle. And her aspiration was, will she drink kind and, stop harassing people.
But she left. Does she know what the outcome was of that?
No, she doesn't know, but I think it benefited her
Her
and
mind.
she did not hold on that negatively to that whole episode that she went through. So she became a little loose for her.
Yeah.
But can't it backfire? Like if I'm kind to, isn't that some sort of, some people might perceive it, even if I'm putting this obnoxious behavior and I get kindness in return, everybody's tolerating it. So let me probably dial it up or let me.
Women can be more difficult. Depends on how you do this. It's all act. Perfect act of kindness can be whereas things that Ali is okay.
You don't have to go out of the way to do something. In a way, you have to be kind. I think you can think of the other person as a reincarnation of yourself. You think, what if I was that person? What if I went through that childhood? What if I was going through that problem? And that's my reaction to that problem.
My mind, of course, like I'm thinking of the situation. Rape situation. How do you calculate that? How do you want the time to that?
Yeah.
Where Rovina had also that project. And then how do you consider the rape victim and the
It's very difficult to think of that.
I'm sorry, you
What
might
about
not
that?
be able to hear everything, folks. I can't even hear some of it myself. Carry on. Carry on, it's good.
In a way, don't you think I think the best thing that they can do, the rape victim, if they're thinking from her perspective, for that matter, then the best thing she can do is to forgive.
forget?
No, sorry, not forget, sorry, forgive. To forgive, but not in the general sense as we perceive forgiveness, but in a more subtle way, in her mind, to perceive it. I know it sounds difficult, but that's the only way to let go.
You'll have to be
Otherwise, you won't be. You don't have to be. Yeah.
Of course, I'm not totally deaf. Yeah.
But I think there's no other way.
So I mean, there was an extreme example, let's park that. So I attended this feminist workshop recently at Deer Park by this Thai activist teacher who I won, who's like also trained under Thich Nhat Hanh. It was an amazing workshop, and she talked about a little bit about her own journey, and she had a traumatic childhood. One, they were poor and they were rural, and the father was abusive, like he beat up the kids to the extent that at one point he was not well, and she actually told her mother that don't give him any food. It's better, it'll be better for all of us. To that extent, so she had a lot of anger towards him. Which continued, which even after he passed away, she says that it was always there. And on the other side, she was doing all this activist work with like rape survivors from Burma, all these women, people in really traumatic conditions. So that work was also causing her burnout. And she's like, one of my friends got cancer, another had some other health problem. Then she realized she needs to do something about it. And then she came across Thich Nhat Hanh. And then over years, she said she finally managed to come to terms with her father and what he had done to the family. And she was able to find a resolution for her anger, whatever.
How did she accomplish that?
She was taking up a student.
Okay.
And one of the things she did say, she probably had lots of other ways. But one of the things she said, like, I was thinking that if I was born in his life, in that as the patriarch, and nobody's telling me what I'm doing is wrong or harmful, and I have full authority over my household and my children, maybe I would have done the same. I was born in that environment, with that mindset. So, I don't think we can't should not be expecting everyone to give very heinous things, but I think it's more important for the individual who has suffered to loosen that a little bit. And I think that's where I think I like what Rebecca did and how this story was narrated by.
And you don't have to think in a way that we're justifying the crime. Like we're not doing that. We're doing something on an individual level to forgive, to think in a different perspective. We're doing some inner work, not outer.
It's in our best interest to forgive you.
Yeah. Because we are holding on to something. And like I just realized something that like similar to what we are exaggerating, like what happened when I was told about the Dalai Lama. So I started justifying it to my friends and also justifying it to myself. No, the Dalai Lama can't do something like that. And of course, I know also for that matter, I think through my heart says, of course, he's not having bad intention, which you can understand. Anyone can simply understand. But then we have good images of some people. We're holding on to that image. This person can't be bad, no matter what happens. I think there's this movie also in which there was this very famous Mr. Robot. I'll spoil it now if I say it, but something very bad happens to him and his own dad does it to him. He, as a reaction, becomes a schizophrenic and he has a dad figure in his life as a schizophrenia personality, and that dad figure is a hero, basically. And at the last episode of the last season, we're told that he did something bad to him. And that's why he became schizophrenic and he had all these personalities. So he couldn't take it. He couldn't take that somebody, so, a dad is supposed to be your role model. And he was doing something bad to him.
Of course, yes.
And his mind made it into something else.
Yeah.
So, like, we're holding on to good images of people like Avalokiteshvar, and we have like bad images, but both are not helping us. So it's better to reside in emptiness. We can't, and like he said, like you have to be a Buddha for that. I don't think we have any other choice. We don't have, as humans, I don't think we have any other choice but to realize we do not have any other option, I guess.
Ongoing set of action. I don't think I'm not sure if she used the word forgiveness, but she talked about overcoming her own anger. So I'm not sure, but definitely forgetting, I don't think is useful. Forgiveness, I don't know.
Did she mention compassion or the suffering of others?
I'm not particularly in relation to the father, but in terms of burnout when you're doing activism.
Good.
And also it's interesting to talk about trusting that people can hold their pain.
Hold their pain.
Yeah, so she said if somebody's sitting in front of you, survived war or anything, whatever of their life has made them go through, they're sitting in front of you, means they've survived all of that. So that you as the person who's supposedly helping them don't feel that, you have to take care of everything about them. You can trust the person even if they're crying in front of you, that they can.
Of course, Thich Nhat Hanh also famously said, didn't he, suffering is not enough. Meaning that if we just focus on the suffering we've been through, well, we can focus on that our whole life and be stuck in that place. Suffering is not enough. We have to remember other factors that we have within us. And our ability, which of course Thich Nhat Hanh so beautifully brought out all the time, is to be in the present moment, in the wonderful present moment, in whatever one is doing, walking, talking, so many beautiful teachings on that. Otherwise, we can just, of course, get stuck in our suffering and be with a therapist for 20 years and nothing much changes because maybe we're too much stuck on the suffering. And the fact that, this and this caused it, or father wasn't adequate, or mother, or whatever, So suffering is not enough. suffering is there and it helps us generate compassion, but that's just the first noble truth, in a sense. There's also the cause of it, getting to the cause of it, and becoming a totally joyful Bodhisattva and Buddha, benefiting others. So I think the work that has to be done is laid out very beautifully step by step in the Buddhist tradition. I don't think any other tradition has anything like it. Possibly some of the Jesuits have something similar, from what I understand a little bit of, given the practices they do, the spiritual exercises some of the Jesuits have engaged in. And who knows what the mystics are doing? They're undoubtedly on another level, the real mystics. But I feel that the Buddhist path goes so deeply into everything and is a mind training par excellence, Witness the incredible number of beings from this small country, a big country with a small population, Tibet, and the number of realized people, it seems, that came out of that environment of study and practice of Buddhism. So obviously, the way the path is set out and the practices there are much deeper and more profound and have much more far-reaching effects than anything I've seen so far in the Western tradition. Not to put down the Western tradition, but it seems limited. Because they don't have the practice of non-duality, they don't have Bodhicitta, and these are incredible practices, just the way they are looking at things. On the other hand, if we brush aside and push away personal pain and engage in these other practices in a superficial way, then that's not doing any good, that's for sure. We have to address our own wounds, but perhaps our wounds, that vulnerability is the gateway to opening up and to generating the deepest kind of empathy. But we have to feel it in ourselves first.
That's such a great example of what the Dalai Lama did when, and of course all the Tibetans who were forced to leave their homeland and cultivate, basically a very advanced form of non-attachment when you have no home and no place. And what did they do with that suffering? They didn't dwell in it, or they turned lemons into lemonade.
Yeah,
they took the Dharma to the world.
There they were, yeah, that's right. They were breaking stones on the side of roads, building roads, the refugees, some teachers as well initially. And if one looks at the Tibetans now, yeah, it's extraordinary. But that's because of their tremendous sense of resilience and faith, many of them, in His Holiness, in the Buddha, for many of them, most of them perhaps of that generation, that saw them through. And of course, the incredible skill, I think, of some of their leaders, His Holiness and some of the others, tremendous skill and tremendous compassion carried them through. Plus some other things like generosity of the Indian government also, many factors.
But also, like you said, the mind training actually turning into reality, into the reality that they create. Right?
That's right, actually. A lot of the lamas describing their horrible time in prison. It wasn't just their tantric practice that kept them going. It was like reflecting on karma. But we've created the karma for this, so that's it. That's what our teachings say, and this is what's happening. You have to bear it, You can't rail against fate for being unkind to me. Once created the cause, you experience the result. So that also helped a lot of people, as it helps many traditional Indian people, I feel. Sometimes when people are going through a lot of suffering, elder people especially, I found in India, yeah, well, that's my karma, created the cause. Of course, many say Bhagavan, yahi chahte hain, but that's another way of kind of saying that somehow the cause has been created and they were able to cope. But also just things like having tremendous qualities of mind, like the ability to meditate, when you're in a stinking prison and, sharing a bucket for a toilet with so many other people, but just the ability to go into meditation. Some of them had, shamatha realization and so forth. This is some of the higher practitioners. So for them, they were able to continue with all their prayers and practices silently without the Chinese knowing what they were doing. Because if they'd been saying them out loud, they would have been beaten or worse. So yeah, the power of the practice is just amazing. I mean, even when they were free, the stories of Lama Yeshe, what they ate in the monastery and how they would practice and do their philosophical debate, often through the night, just the amazing perseverance of those people. It's amazing. And how they suffered, how they managed to transform their situation when they came to India, and they didn't have proper place to study or anything. They transformed this ex-prisoner of war camp in Assam into a monastery where they were all studying. That's where Lama and Rinpoche were initially. Many got sick, many died. Rinpoche got TB. Lama's health wasn't good anyway. He couldn't have benefited from being in that camp, but they continued their studies. Amazing. Amazing. They just continued all their studies. Yeah. And then a lot of backbreaking work they engaged in, getting the land, the harvesting, where they were allotted land in Karnataka. The three great Gelugpa monasteries were in North and South Karnataka. The amount of work they had to do, monks as well as lay people, monks and nuns and lay people. Yeah. Wild animals. So yeah, I think that shows a lot of basic courage and just, also Sita Rinpoche has mentioned this in one of his books, that, mountain people, they just have a natural ability to get on with things, and very somehow practical and clear way of dealing with things. They don't have the hang-ups that we modern people have due to our whatever lifestyle or whatever. Mountain people like the Tibetans, very rugged, practical by and large. They just get on with doing what has to be done. Not that that may be true of the present generation, but that generation had it. Modern generation, maybe more problems, having left their country and being exposed to so-called modern civilization. Okay, we've had a good 2 hours, so we got our money's worth today. If anyone who wants to make a donation, of course, that can be done. We'll post something online, actually, if you want to make a direct transfer to our account. We have donation boxes at Tushita, because we don't survive on thin air, I can tell you. I don't usually say this, it just came spontaneously. I don't usually make fundraising announcements. It was very embarrassing when I was a monk and a teacher having to make these kind of announcements, but now maybe I can more easily. But if anyone wants to donate towards Tushita, you'll be creating unbelievably good karma, and therefore creating the cause to be happy in the future, and Tushita will flourish and benefit more people. So donations always welcome. And at some point in the future, Tushita may need a new home, who knows? And so that will require funds, won't it? So, and the Buddha, by the way, I don't know if you can Google it, but anyway, there's places in the basic teachings where Buddha says, if people understood the benefits of giving, really understood it, they would, it would blow their minds, kind of thing. And they would really want to give, even if it was just a small amount, or in the, like in the Bible, that lady who had very little and she gave what she had, and the incredibly amazing result of that. So anyway, if we can give, it's good. Of course, some people give time and work and so forth, whatever we can give. So yeah, let's dedicate any positive energy towards becoming like Rinpoche, because we shouldn't think he's way out there in outer space and we're forever destined to be dreadful little lumps of flesh walking around on the planet. We also have the capacity to become Buddhas. become bodhisattvas and then Buddhas. So we should be inspired by the teachings and the lives, or could be inspired, and motivate to aspire to follow their example of these beings. And of course, we will feel more motivated when we actually perhaps begin to taste the results of working in some small way for others, benefiting others. As Rinpoche says, real happiness in life starts when you begin to cherish others. Simple statement. Real happiness in life starts when we begin to cherish others. Otherwise, it's just all knuckly happiness. It's just, it's not really that great. Everyone knows how to take care of themselves, basically, even anything, even an insect knows. But to take care of others, benefit others, may we find joy in that, happiness in that, and thereby hasten our the development of magnificent qualities, so we can really help others deeply, just by them looking at us, hearing us. So there will be some a hiccup in the teachings in the next week or 10 days, but there will be something happening, and we will let you know very soon what the program is, who is teaching, and whether Tushita is open or not on certain days. So that means from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday next week, yeah, and then Thursday we will have it posted soon. But please continue to reflect on what we've been looking at. Bodhicitta mindfulness we can practice anytime from now, you know. And yeah, please dedicate for the swift return, correct identification, and good health and long life of the reincarnation of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And may we have Dharma contact with Rinpoche in the future, and not just see him as totally ordinary. Him or her. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Faridunji, nice to see you. Hope Mumbai is in good nick. Thank you, Navinji. Red today. Isabel, where are you from? Where are you? Isabel, are you there? No, okay.
Yes, I am.
Where are you from, Isabel?
I'm from Portugal.
Portugal.
Yes.
Very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Hope it was useful for you.
Yes.
I'm sorry you may not have heard a lot of it because there was discussion happening here. Yeah.
Yes, likely, yes.
Okay, great. What's that behind you on the wall, Nivitaji? On to your left?
It's a Dalai Lama quote. I got it from Thubten.
Achha.
Yeah,
Oh,
precious
Spiti
life.
Valley. Wow, nice.
Precious human life. Cool.
Good. Excellent. Right. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Take care. See you all soon. Yep, one way or another. Take care.